Welcome back, it's me Lou, and I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. Today we are putting the spotlight on this. The G.I. Joe Classified Series Snake Eyes, as seen in the Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins film. Okay, so previously I reviewed the Storm Shadow from this line. I reviewed the budget line Bareness figure. The mainline Classified Series Bareness figure, the budget Storm Shadow, and then also the Ninja Tech Snake Eyes. So for this video, we're going to feature old Snake Eyes himself, as he's seen in the movie. And so let's get started. Alright, so first off, examining the packaging. I like it. I like the fact that for the movie, the Classified Series boxes, it's a different color scheme altogether. They have a much more darker color palette, a lot more richer contrast with the use of the neutral colors in the back and the red. Much like the normal Classified Series, we're also provided with some nice artwork here of the featured character. Likewise, on the spine of the box, we have a really cool illustration of unmasked Snake Eyes, which bears a good resemblance to actor Henry Golding. We have Snake Eyes himself. We have the mark of the Rashikage clan down here. And a nice picture of Snake Eyes from the movie. And I say this all the time, I really wish they'd provide like a short bio of the character, just so you get a little snippet of what the character is about. And on this side of the spine, we're kind of given the perks and abilities that Snake Eyes has. I believe this could be translated on the G.I. Joe website, much like the normal Classified Series figures. And let's get this guy out of his little cardboard and plastic prison. Okay, so my first impressions of the action figure while he's still in the tray. The first thing that came to my mind looking at this is that it's a very streamlined look for Snake Eyes. So this is the film costume. It's inspired much by the second version of Snake Eyes, which features kind of like the knight head visor. And it's nice. We get the alternate portrait over here of Henry Golding. We have his katana blade, the sheath, and 2 additional knives. Alright, one thing I noticed about this action figure upon looking at it just now is that it seems kind of short. We'll know that in a little bit because I'll compare it to the first release of the figure. Alright, so this is a really streamlined look for the character. I like it a lot. It takes a lot of cues from like other film inspired designs, whether it be science fiction or superheroes. They kind of give the character a much more tactical look, a lot of body armor. But for Snake Eyes, I think this look really kind of works for the character, especially in the world of G.I. Joe. Even on like a cinematic basis, because G.I. Joe, even though it's like very much military inspired with the weaponry and the vehicles and the gear, it also kind of lends itself to a little bit of science fiction, and I think that look kind of fits this costume. Like when I look at this, it kind of reminds me of something you might see even like in a video game, like in a Mass Effect or like Dead Space or something, where you kind of take that kind of like video game aesthetic armor. But it works for Snake Eyes, I think. Now, this is kind of more me being subjective, but I think for me, I would have appreciated that in the Snake Eyes movie, that they actually gave Snake Eyes his original costume. Granted, I know that the second version of Snake Eyes is probably the more iconic version. When you mention Snake Eyes to people, they always think of this costume with the with the visor over the eyes, and it's much more of a ninja aesthetic. For me, when I always think of Snake Eyes, I mean, I always think of that too, but I think growing up, I was exposed to the original version of Snake Eyes first, because I think I might have been like 6 years old when the A Real American Hero line came out. And then I remember that Snake Eyes, he looked more like a commando. He was kind of more wearing the black fatigues, and then his helmet was kind of more of that like tactical mask. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this this very like sci-fi ninja look for Snake Eyes. It's kind of reminiscent of like something like Ninja Gaiden, the video game. And whenever I think of this Snake Eyes, I always think of Timber, also the wolf. That's kind of like Snake Eyes' sidekick. Looking at the accessories up close, the alternate portrait of Henry Golding, I think the likeness is really well done. The sculpting is nice. Some really nice sculpting in the hair. And then we have his katana, the sheath, and then the two blades. Examining Snake Eyes. Alright, so it's a really, really clean, crisp design. The details are really well done, really well sculpted, as you can see on the chest. Some nice high definition on the sculpting on the buckle and on the pants. There's even a slight texture on the legs, if we could get that in focus. Maybe, yeah. He has a nice gloss finish in certain areas, a nice matte finish for some provided contrast. Like, if you look on his shoulder, it's a glossy black versus his chest, which is kind of like a matte finish. Kind of has this chest harness. There we see the mark of the Rashikage clan on his left tricep. There's a peg hole in the back for the sheath. And Snake Eyes kind of has a butt. He's not very flat in the back. There's a little bit of red speckling on his kneecaps right there. Yeah, so this is a really nice version of the figure. If you don't have the first release of the G.I. Joe Classified Snake Eyes, I think this is an easy substitute. And in some ways, it could be even argued that this might even be a more superior figure, depending on your taste in terms of the costume design. In terms of articulation, his head rotates to the left and right, up and down. I'm trying to examine whether or not his neck is that separate piece like the other G.I. Joe Classified figures. Appears not. His arms rotate. They go out. He has a bicep cut, so it allows for a swivel. His elbows appear to be double jointed, 1, 2. His wrists are articulated, so you can rotate them, and I believe they also go up and down, like that. He has an ab crunch. It doesn't go as far forward as I'd like. Going back, does a pretty decent job going back, though. There's a waist swivel. And much like the other G.I. Joe Classified figures, he kind of has that rubber plastic diaper over his lower torso. His legs kick out. There's a nice swivel on his thigh. As we can see, there's double jointed knees. No boot cut, unfortunately. He has the standard ankle articulation. Alright, here's the sheath. So the harness has a little hole on it, and as well as does the back, so you just line them up. And then you can plug the sheath in there. I would have appreciated if the peg was a little bit longer. But it does seem to provide a snug enough fit. And then we get the blade in there. There's a nice faint texture along the blade. And the hilt is also well detailed. It's hard to see because it's black. And my camera is kind of fighting with the autofocus, so it's hard to get it into like really sharp focus. It's this nice snug fit. Am I getting this in right? Yeah. Nice snug fit. The head pops off. And then we could give them the alternate face. I know there's been some controversy about, casting Henry Golding as Snake Eyes. I mean, initially I kind of had a slight problem with it, but after a while I kind of just lightened up and just kind of accepted it. It's a good look though. On the alternate head's actually a good fit on the body, and it looks really cool actually. It might be a little bit too big though. As I mentioned earlier, when I first took the figure out of the tray, the figure seemed a little bit short. So the head kind of comes off being a little bit big. Alright, so he has these alternate knives. I'm not going to take them out, but to the best of my knowledge, I don't think there's any storage for the knives on the costume. Which is unfortunate because I really like it when they provide you with an action figure and you can actually store all of the accessories onto the body of the figure. But to the best of my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but I don't think there's anywhere I could store the extra blades. But that's alright, I could overlook that. Alright, let's get the other head on. Alright, since we're on the subject of Snake Eyes, let's compare them to some of the other figures that are out. So here's the first release of the figure from the original G.I. Joe Classified. This is from the first wave. And this figure here is the budget figure from the G.I. Joe Origins movie. And this is the Ninja Tech version, which is a repaint. The original one, I believe, is all black. I still have to find that one. And this belongs to the new movie line also, but this is the budget figure. And I did a review on this, so this, if you're curious, go look that up. Okay, so we have the budget figure on our left. We have the mainline figure from the movie in the middle. And then we have the original G.I. Joe Classified series release on the right. Okay, so as I've mentioned earlier, I believe this figure is slightly shorter than this one, I think. If we put them back to back, they're all. I want to say maybe they're about the same height. Maybe the proportions are just a little bit different. Maybe that's what's. I don't know. It's odd. Okay, now let's comparing these two figures. As I mentioned earlier, if you don't have this, I think this is a great substitute. The look it's familiar yet generic enough that it could fit in with the standard G.I. Joe Classified series line. I kind of like this one a lot too because the design is a lot more simplified. I love this figure, but there's too many bells and whistles going on here. Like I said, it's not enough that he has one belt, he has two belts. He has a holster for his sidearm. He has this sheath here, which if a lot of you might remember is that it didn't accept the knife properly, so he actually had to modify it. Much like this Snake Eyes also, it actually has two different tones of black. There's like a glossy finish, but there's also a matte finish, so it provides some nice contrast. Articulation wise, this guy has an ab crunch, but this one crunches a lot more than this guy does. This is as far forward as this guy will go, where this one, he has a lot more clicks in him. So he can really get in there. In terms of if comparing stuff like the visor, this one's a lot more streamlined. I can't stress that enough. This figure is a lot cleaner, a lot more streamlined. It just looks like a much more simplified design, and I think that kind of works for me. Like, this is the Snake Eyes that's gonna like be very stealthy. He's gonna like go on like missions and hide in the shadows. This is the Snake Eyes that's just gonna like barge through your front door and just like, you know, wreck shit up, without lack of a better term. But it's cool though. I like this one a lot. There's something about this one's body though that always kind of bothered me. He always felt like it's a little too muscular. Like, this almost felt more like a Marvel Legends in terms of his physique. Whereas this one, it feels very much more natural. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. Now, this figure over here, this is on a completely different planet. You know, this is I love this. Don't get me wrong, I love this figure. And I love the whole budget line of figures that, you know, there's the Baroness figure from this line is amazing. The Storm Shadow is really nice. You know, this one has more of a play feature. You know, it has the snapback waist for, like, you know, action and punching. And I don't mind the different color scheme also. I mean, this is kind of much more like a Power Ranger or something like that, but it's cool. So yeah, I mean, these two are nice. I'm sure you could swap the accessories also. Like, if you wanted to, you could easily take this harness off and put them on here. I don't think this one's body's that much larger. Same with the waist here. If you could find a way to remove the belt, I'm sure you could put up the belt on here. And this one too also has these harnesses on his biceps, you know, for extra storage, like the pouches. So yeah, this one feels a little bit more overkill. It feels like a much more 90s inspired aesthetic. You know, back in the 90s, especially in comic books, superheroes were always decked out with as many pouches and holsters and pockets as possible. I mean, if you just look at the old X-Men character Cable from the New Mutants, you know, he was introduced like in the, I think, late 80s, early 90s. And that guy had so much going on for him. And I think for some reason, a lot of characters kind of took on that aesthetic afterward. But this is it's like I said, this Snake Eyes feels more demolition than stealth. This one feels more like stealth. I still really want to see version 1 Snake Eyes in the classified line. I'm sure we'll get that down the road. I mean, they've done that with Roadblock. You know, they released initially they released, I think, version 2 Roadblock, and then, you know, a year later they gave us version 1, which I still have to find that also. So yeah, these are great figures. Now, if I had to rate this one numerically on a scale of 1 to 10, easy. It's an easy 8. I'll leave it at that. At the lowest, an 8. The highest, 8.5. I would rate it higher if there was storage provided for his knives, and maybe if he came with like more accessories. But then again, you know, if this is staying close to the movie, I think this is all you kind of really need. Speaking of the movie, I found it entertaining. I do understand why a lot of fans had problems with it. You know, if you're like a hardcore G.I. Joe enthusiast, especially of like the Real American Hero stuff, and if you grew up on the old original cartoon, you're not going to like the movie. But if you're a person if you're a casual fan, or if you're just a fan of movies, you might enjoy the movie for what it is. This is good, you know, popcorn entertainment. It's fun to watch. Like, I talk to people normal people, you know, that don't collect toys or read comic books or watch cartoons and stuff, and they enjoyed the Snake Eyes movie. And for me, having some background in G.I. Joe, I enjoyed it for what it was, but at the same time, if you're a fan of like the cartoons, or especially the old Larry Hama comics, you know, that were published by Marvel and IDW, you're gonna be really disappointed. But, you know, Larry Hama had his, you know, he gave his blessing in terms of like, you know, Henry Golding being casted as Snake Eyes, and I'm sure they probably gave him an earlier review of the script or treatment before, you know, they went out and produced it. So, you know, if it has the blessing of one of the G.I. Joe godfathers, I guess it's okay. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be a good product. So yeah, I like this figure a lot. It's really cool. I think it's a must purchase, even if you didn't like the movie. It's a good fill-in and alternate look for Snake Eyes, especially if you don't have the original figure. Yeah, this is awesome. highly recommend it. So far, even if you didn't like the movie, I think that all the toys so far that have been released they've all been awesome. They still have to come out with the Scarlet. I think that's going to come out either this fall or this winter. And I can't remember if there's any other figures outside of that. But it's a great line. I mean, the G.I. Joe Classified Series stuff is just awesome altogether. It's been really hard for me, anyways, to get some of these figures, especially the Target exclusives. I passed up on the motorcycle with Breaker. You know, I'm hoping to find that in the stores and cross my fingers. You know, I just opted out of getting them online. But we'll see. So wrapping this up, once again, my name is Lou. Thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to my channel, welcome. I have over 200 videos on all sorts of action figures, so give that a look. If you are a returning viewer or subscriber, I thank you for all your support, comments, and likes. I always enjoy engaging with people. And a quick note too, if for some reason, if you post a comment and it doesn't pop up, I don't know what YouTube's doing, but it's filtering. It's either filtering or reviewing comments before they're posted just to avoid spam. And if you leave comments immediately one after the other, it's gonna view it as spam and it's not gonna post them. So, you know, if that's the thing, because I've noticed that some people have been posting comments but they're not showing up, and I think that's the reason why. It's not me, it's YouTube. I don't know what they're doing. So, you know, just deal with that. But do know that if I do see a comment, I always try to reply to them to the best that I can. I enjoy engaging people. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So until the next video, take care, and I'll talk to you later. Later.